videotaping everything and putting it out there online, and people like to be informed. So let the public decide. So I want to thank everyone for coming out here today. Dave told me I had a, can you hear me in the back okay? Ronnie and them, you can hear me okay? I'll probably walk around a little bit. So first, it always feels good, especially with Stan and Helen here. Always feels good to speak in front of a crowd that's super conservative, where I might actually be the moderator in the group. But Dave told me I'd have a half hour here. So I'm going to speak for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. So buckle up. So you might have seen a little bit of a viral video out of me during session, me and the speaker kind of clashing heads a little bit. And we were on the floor debating a bill that cracked down on criminal illegal aliens, those that had detainers on them, and turning them over to ICE. Now this was a bill and a policy that the Maryland Freedom Caucus polled before session. And 84% of Marylanders agreed with us. 90% of African Americans agreed with this policy. So I thought I was on pretty solid footing when I stood on the floor. And of course, at the 11th hour, Democrats, a bunch of hole in the bill, they removed the 287G program from the entire state, and they did some stuff administratively that made the bill completely not functional. And I stood on the House floor, I said, Madam Speaker, what has become painfully obvious to me this legislative session? If the Maryland people are on one side of the issue, and that issue conflicts with the agenda of the Democratic Party, the chamber picks the party every single time. And she started hammering down. She's like, that's not true. I was like, oh, Madam Speaker, but it is true. It's true on taxes. It's true on energy. It's true on education issues. It's even true on things like voter ID. Overwhelmingly, the Maryland people are on one side of the issue, and the chamber's on another. And right now, I've never seen a party in my life run so hard towards the 20% on 80-20 issues. It's crazy. You need to kind of realize that the Democratic Party right now, it's not the party of your parents. It is no longer the party of JFK. They do not espouse the ideas of Jefferson or Madison. They moved on to some isms, whether that's leftism, wokeism, Marxism. They're doing something else. But I'll tell you, every time I brought stuff up like this to the Republican leadership up in Annapolis, it was a deal like, Matt, slow down. Can't get into this. So, well, it would behoove us to talk about these problems, because not only would it help us electorally, but it would help us policy-wise as well. We'd get more of the stuff we want, less of the stuff we don't want. Matt, sometimes we need to get stuff. We can't be going out there and doing this. Matt, let me just say, this is the way to perpetuate legitimacy in Annapolis. Is, you sit back and you get a little trinkets for your district here. Oh, Madam Speaker. Get a couple little, can y'all still hear me back there? You're still good back there?
This is what you
What they do is say, hey, we get some trinkets for your district, and then you'll sit back and go, I don't know, we'll get some, best way to win re-election is to sit there and maybe hand out birthday cards. Or show up at your next firehouse chicken dinner and hand out citations. Get some trinkets from the district and then, relax. Go to the golf course. Enjoy being elected. And I was like, look, I don't even golf. I don't want to go to the golf course. I want to win. And the reason why I want to win is because my constituents are losing. I mean, it is really troublesome for me to drive around every single day. Someone's talking about leaving from the state of Maryland. There was a recent poll back during session. 53% of Marylanders wanted to move. About the same percentage thought the state was on the wrong track. And if you're me, look, I represent an area where constituents can trace their family history back 200, 300, 400 years in some cases. And now I'm watching them being pushed out both economically and culturally. I don't think that's right. And for me as an elected official that took a promise, might cut out, I can just walk around.
Yeah, it might work.
I probably don't need a mic. Even though, okay. Even though, there's no way it's working. Look, economically, culturally, they're being pushed out. And I don't think it's right. And as an elected official that ran for this area, I took a promise. I made a pledge to people that I was going to stick up for them. And I don't want to be like those elected officials that don't do anything and sit on their hands. I mean, to me, it's ridiculous that that doesn't happen. And to me, look, I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm at a public place or meeting like this, and constituents come up to me and say, "Oh, Matt, I'm moving because, well, my taxes are too high, my electric bill's too high, they're indoctrinating my children." When I went into the school system to talk to them, they called me a racist, fascist bigot, compared me to Adolf Hitler. Hey, you knew these policies were bad. Why didn't you say something? We elected you to be our voice. Why didn't you do something? Why didn't you try? I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I'm telling you right now, I'd rather lead the General Assembly with my integrity intact rather than not do something that I told you I was going to do. So, with that, that was one of the reasons why we tried to create the Maryland Freedom Caucus. It's because we wanted to push back on some of these big issues that are affecting the state. It falls under, like I would say, the Margaret Thatcher quote. First you got to win the hearts and minds, and then you'll win the vote. And I'm telling you, the Freedom Caucus has been wildly successful. It's exceeded my expectation. First, we breathed new life into the Republican Party. This past session, we were able to force the governor to delay the California car mandate by 2 years. We killed the condoms for kitty bill. We led the fight on taxes. We led the fight against criminal illegal aliens. And we led the fight on lowering your electric bill. What I wasn't counting on this session, which kind of blew my mind in some ways, it actually unified the Republican Party. It was great to see our other Republican colleagues. We had this tax revolt up in Annapolis. It was great to see them support that event and just be there and unify. Because 2 years ago up in Annapolis, we had a Republican vote for a $1.3 billion tax increase. That's crazy, because that year, the year before it was election year, he signed a pledge saying he wouldn't do it. We had 42 Republicans vote for a budget that Democrat ran, but spent $5.5 billion over a structural surplus money. So look, it unified the Republican Party. This was the first session in the history of Maryland where every Republican, both the House and Senate, voted against the budget. And I think that is very important because it says unity in one direction, that we stand for fiscal responsibility. And look, we're going to keep this ball rolling, keep the momentum going. Next couple weeks, we're going to release our legislative agenda for the Freedom Caucus. I think you guys are really going to like it, because the knock I keep hearing from Democrats, let me make sure you all get this, is performative politics. You guys in the Freedom Caucus, it's just performative politics, which I think is a bit hypocritical since they all support Wes Moore, which might be the most performative politician I've ever seen in my life. The difference between us and the Freedom Caucus is we push for solutions that actually work, that don't fail people. So with that, we're going to have a legislative agenda. We are going to have solutions on taxes and economic growth. We will have solutions for home heating costs and your electric bill going up. We will have solutions on crime. What I'm developing, and Ronnie and Connie are like this because we've talked about it in the past, I have a suite of bills coming out, 3 bills actually. I'm going to take the lead one, dealing with nonprofits in the state of Maryland. because I think there's a significant problem with nonprofits that take a considerable amount of money from government. Well, if you're taking more money from government than you're raising from the private sector, you're not a nonprofit, you're an extension of government. And the same transparency laws that regulate state government should apply to your nonprofit. That's the only reason. So with that, look, we got a lot of stuff going on. I would tell you that all this does come with a cost. You do this. And the cost is, like, the target on each of our backs are huge. Huge. Which the largest target's probably on yours truly. And I will say it does bother me that the Speaker's office tried to recruit a Republican in the 29B race. It does bother me that Democrats tried to recruit Republicans in the 29A race, right here. Yeah. And I do find it interesting that the only Democrat that seems to be running in St. Mary's County is running against me, Ms. Clancy. She looked like they got a great website. She's got a great campaign team. Looks like she's doing pretty well, getting a lot of help. I find it interesting that she filed for office in July of 2025 because she's been running for state delegate longer than Hillary Clinton ran for president. Kamala just came out with a book, 107 Days. Maybe her book will be labeled 507 Days. I don't know. But look, this is where we're at. We're in the middle of a campaign year. So I'm pretty pumped up. I'm here right now to ask you for your vote, for your support, and for your help, and your participation. Look, when Kathy organizes a sign waving, we don't want 2 or 3 people in red shirts. We want everybody in a red shirt. I feel I'm ultimately doing this job because I believe in a cause bigger than myself. This is about getting Maryland back on track and really saving our area, not just to improve our lives, but for future generations to come. Maryland does not need to be a state in constant decline. That is by choice. And right now, I want to tell you, I think we're in the midst of the greatest political realignment in our lifetime. It started last year under Donald Trump, where not only did he win every swing state by wide margins, he took every county in the country and moved it to the right, including all 24 jurisdictions in Maryland. Everything moved to the right from 2024 to 2020. This is our opportunity. Give you more proof. Yeah. Look, you can see this political realignment happening in real time right now. Did you ever think that New Jersey, the state where you have to make 3 right-hand turns to go left, the state that doesn't even allow you to pump your own gas, is now a swing state? That's amazing. Republicans are going to win that state. And look, this is a transformation moment. If it's happened there, it can happen here. Maryland doesn't need to be on the decline, a state on the decline constantly. Look, next year, it's not only an election year, but it's the 250th year of our country anniversary. And I can't think of a better time to get Maryland back on track, back to the values and principles that made us the greatest nation in the world. That's right. So with that, thank you all so much for having me here.
Sure. Is there any possibility of looking at redistricting the state? I mean, I know Democrats control that. Do we have any?
So, the legislative bond bills, to me, has to be one of the worst ways to get. So every legislative bond bill starts off the same way, in order to create a new state debt. So you're borrowing money on that. To me, I thought we were the party that you should keep more money in your pocket, not wealth redistribution. That's the other. The other point on the problem with bond bills is Democrats use it as behavior control during session. And I've seen that happen quite a bit where, you can't speak on that, you won't get your bond money. Look, there's multiple different ways to get stuff funded. And with that being said, the citizens of Northern St. Mary's pay taxes just like any other citizen in Maryland. So they're due their projects. So I want to thank Tony O'Donnell, who kind of gave me some tutelage when I first started to kind of figure things out. And I just had a report printed. Yeah, I thought I was going to get to answer, ask questions on energy. But here, I got a report right here. I asked the Department of Legislative Services to point me towards a direction of all capital projects for St. Mary's County for this term, and then to break it out by legislative district. So I'm going to pass this around. But yeah, it is a little bit annoying when you have other Republicans, and I've heard other Republican county commissioners, not Eric Colvin, because he's smart. Talk about bringing in the bacon. And I just went through and added up the district breakdowns in money. And District 29A has gotten a little over 40 million this term. Brian Crosby's district has gotten a little like 21 million. So look, ultimately what decides how much money you get towards a district is really how many state resources that you have in your district. Like Jason Buckle, that has the state prison in his district, tends to get a lot of resources. District 30, that has Annapolis in their district, tends to get a lot of resources. But them creating a narrative that says, hey, Matt Morgan speaks up, and therefore you guys are going to get shortchanged. Well, I would just like to see where the data is that actually says that. Because I don't see it. And here, Danny, I'll pass it out, and feel free to pass
That's
it
why
around.
we love you, because you speak up.
Appreciate that. Sure. Go ahead.
Good. Matt, I got a question here.
Yes, sir.
This is about illegal immigration. A U.S. law says who can be in here and who can't. So how can, what arguments do the politicians up there in Annapolis give for having illegal aliens in here? What can they probably have any back
So the
up?
arguments that they have is, well, this is a DC problem, and they're here now, so either we have to pay for them up front, or we're all going to pay for them some other line, like they'll say with healthcare or whatever, education or crime. Look, illegal immigration is a problem nationwide. I don't know why Maryland state government continues to incentivize it. Just today, I sent Todd a message, and we'll probably end up doing something later. St. Mary's College came out with a safe space for people hiding from ICE. And my question is, how, I can't wait for the dean there, I guess the dean, president, whatever the title is, to just tell me how can they ensure me that they're not safe harboring a criminal. Baltimore ICE, which is ICE for the state of Maryland, Delaware, that's worked out of the Baltimore field office, they lead the nation in arresting illegal aliens for sexual assault or some type of sex crime. And I think the story, I think back in like July, was they had 155 arrests in the state. So I'd hate to have a situation, and it makes me just really conflicted with St. Mary's College, on do they know who they're protecting? Do they know who the criminals are versus who could be the potential victims? Because even if you're harboring somebody on your campus, that person's going to leave that campus at some point. And that's a big problem, I think. So I look forward to writing that letter when I have some time tomorrow, and wanting to get you some answers. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I did kind of a quick comment. This Saturday is No King's Day, or as Johnson said, it's the hate rally. And posted on the